All right, welcome back to the House of Agony. We have a 1971 CB750, build date of 3/71. How do I know that? Because it says it right there, 3 of 71. What was I doing in 1971 in the month of March? Well, probably being a kid. I was almost 10, having fun outside, digging holes, climbing trees, things like that. The objective is, according to the owner, to get it running and rideable and roadable. My knowledge is, to my knowledge rather, it does not run. And I don't think we're even going to try, be honest with you, because he said something about when they put gas in it, the gas just runs out of the carbs, and I can see staining on the crankcase and other areas in there. I would say that's accurate. But let's go ahead and just kind of do a walk around on this fine luxury motorcycle. And I want to show you a couple things that are kind of weird. Well, the first thing is, the thing is coated with a clear coat, like not on everything, but almost everything, including plastic and rubber parts. Like these accordions on the forks, they're clear coated. Somebody sprayed some stupid clear coat on them. And a lot of other parts are like that as well. For example, the carburetors. And well, let's look at this first. Look at this kickstart rubber. It's got that shit on it. What the hell? Carburetors are coated with it too. That's the only thing that really concerns me, and also the carb holders, the insulators, because that's going to crack. As soon as I take it off, it's going to crack. Probably end up replacing those anyway. And when these carbs go through cleaning cycles, ultrasonic, carb cleaner or so forth, whatever I need to use, that's going to start coming off, and who knows, maybe I'll end up having to send them out for vapor blasting. I don't know yet. That's the thing, I just don't know. And there are just other parts done the same way. I'm not sure about the engine case. This is obviously, well, this has got some clear on it. That could be factory. So the cylinder head too. Anyway, this is obviously not a sand cast. It's too new for that, but you know, it's a die cast engine. Typical garden variety 1971, but it's got the original exhaust. And it's in pretty damn nice shape overall. And the tank, I looked inside the tank already. We'll have to show you some pictures of that if I get my, what do you call it, you know, dangly bit out and shove it in the hole. It's got that white cream tank sealer thing in there, and I don't know how good that is. That's why I want to bore scope it. And there are just other signs that this thing has been gone through some sort of a restoration. You know, for example, I don't know what that sticker is. And back here it's like HM Honda. This is my gut feeling on this. He bought it from somebody who kind of quote unquote restored it or resurrected it for the purpose of display only. Because why would you clear coat all, you know, this kind of crap? It's not going to stay on. And of course the carb holders too. Why would you do that unless this thing was just going to sit? It is not locked up. Ugh, I did kick it over, but right now I can't because I got one hand. Ugh. Yeah, not locked up. Not the freest thing on the planet. There is oil in it. Yeah, before we do anything like that, we're going to certainly add oil, if not drain it and change it. I don't know yet. I'm not sure if I have a filter in stock. I don't think I do. I do have a carb kit for it in stock. It's aftermarket. It's all you can get now on these from 4in1.com. I ordered that weeks ago when I knew this was coming in. I had to do my big trip, which there's the other video that already came out on the dramas between the Sabre, the Concourse, and other factors that made the trip interesting and more of an adventure than an ordeal. And remember, folks, remember, the only difference between an adventure and an ordeal is your attitude. So you got to look at it that way. The other strange thing about this bike is all these yellow marks that you would typically do when you bring a fastener up to torque spec, like on the inside of an engine or something. I'm not really sure why that's that way. Did Honda do that? You know, showroom condition motorcycles, that they were marked like that? Like almost all of them, you can see just about all of them here on the front fender, same thing. I have never seen that before. Your fork lowers the same way, and some yellow up in here on those, and there and there and there and there. Really weird. It's just kind of a weird presentation just first glances. But you know, first glances are often just not accurate as far as what the reality is. So the first thing what we need to do, I need to do is get the tank off, take a good look at the carbs, and I want to take a good look at the tank. It has no power. I guess the battery is either not in there or dead or than a doornail. I am certain we're going to be pulling carbs. We're going to be going through the carbs, and we're going to be doing other stuff. And the first thing we're going to do is just targeting the engine and getting it running, make sure it's okay. Perhaps do a valve clearance check on it. You know, the stem and nut type, no big drama. Take these caps off if you can get them out. Sometimes they're stuck. And then we'll move on from there. So yeah, we'll set you up once I get the tank off. Take a look at different things. I don't know what order this is going to go in as far as the video goes, so you just bear with me and we'll work through it. All right, so I marked it low oil. The oil is down to where I'm not sure if that's the pickup, the delivery side or the return side to this tank. This is interesting. I think the more I look at this was like some individual's attempt at doing a restoration. The painting, they painted this. This was originally chrome. And it's just kind of, it's not very good. Maybe they had it sitting in their living room or something and just didn't even run it or ride it. I don't know. I got the battery on charge over there. It's not taking a charge. I'll meter it up here in a minute, so this might be electrical. Sucker's electrical, 1.21 gigawatts. So yeah, I just want to show you that before I pull the carbs. Now, cables and stuff, you know, everything's free. And believe it or not, the brakes even work. I mean, the front brake is not bound up. Rear brake's not bound up. Of course, that's a non-hydraulic job anyway, but it's not. You know, these linkages sometimes get all bound up and corroded. It just wasn't. You know, this thing was obviously inside a somewhat climate-controlled area, I would imagine. A lot of dust underneath here, though. So this is what we're going to do. Let me get the side covers off, and we'll get the these air boxes are in halves, which is nice. There's a couple of wing nuts besides the one behind the camera. You can break these in half. These air boxes come out pretty easily. And then we'll pull the carbs. So I'll get back to you when I move along here a little bit. I failed to mention the reason why the air box is split is so you can change the air filter, which looks almost brand new. I didn't order one, so that's good. And it makes it just so much easier to get the whole air box out on these. The cables on these are nice and easy to get off too. Here we go. Cables are free. Beauty. I'm thinking it has the proper metric band clamps on here, which is cool. Takes a, what, 7 mil? Yeah, 7 mil nut driver. Oh my God, your 7 mil is so big. A little silicone spray in there, can't hurt. Once you start wiggling it, it'll wick in and theoretically help us get these off a little bit. I do it on everything. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. See if it works now. Oh, those are snug. Oh, that rubber is going to be petrified, I would imagine. Oh boy. Oh. Yep. Oh, there we go. Got it. Yeah, we're going to be replacing those, I'm pretty sure. Because otherwise I'm going to struggle getting them back in, and I don't know how good they are. Well, I'll take a look at them. We'll take a look at this first. What the hell? You know, the only thing is I hate the aftermarket ones. They're too soft. The carbs like droop with them. You know, they're junk really. So maybe we can get away with using these if they're not cracked. Just heat them up with a heat gun a little bit before you shove the carbs in. If you get them a little bit warm and a little silicone grease, they'll pop back in. So we might just do that. Save the owner a little money if these are not cracked. That way I don't have to pull them from the head either. That sucks. Sucks bad. I'm going to plug these up and we'll take the carbs over, set the bench up and start taking them apart. You know, before we do that, let's take a couple of these caps off if we can. Take a look in there. I want to see, take a look at those rocker deals. See, you know, see what the top end looks like. Make sure there's no like rust or anything in there. Because if there is, you know, why bother with the carbs? Well, it ain't too bad. So, it's just number 4 intake, but, yeah. Not bad at all. Doesn't look well oiled, but hasn't been run. Everything is run down in here. The oil, that is. But I'll take 1 or 2 more off and then put them back on. If there's any changes, I'll report it. If not, we'll move on. I'd wager this is probably where his fuel was coming from. Remember, there's 2 fuel T's on this. Well, you don't see the other one right now, but it doesn't matter. That's just wiggling around. Yeah, I knew this rack was going to have to get split, but I'm just going to pop the float bowl caps off. Float bowl caps off. Right now, because they just have the basket type. Kind of like a basket case. Of which I know all about, because I am one. Whoops. I'm smacking you. Well, that's not terrible. It's coming off okay. Not terrible. Not terrible. New jets. This is when Honda wasn't insane. These are screw-in slow or pilot jets, which is nice. As opposed to the press-in ones on the other carbs. This shouldn't be too bad. As far as getting them working. New fuel line. This is stiffer than, well, you know. It's stiff. Let's go ahead and strip the innards and put the caps back on just to protect the standoffs and stuff. And then I can lay them down, take this tray out of the way, and we'll go ahead and split them. It'll be easier to do. I'm just propping them up on this stand that I made for something else before. Just something to hold them up in the air. I'll have to look at the service data on this, but it's got hundreds, 97.5, 97.5, and 100. So the middle 2 are smaller. They look like the right ones. We got to get this shaft out so we can take these rocker arms, if you want to call them that, off to split the carbs. That's going to be a problem. We're going to have to get the Dremel with a brush in here, and hopefully this stuff will come off pretty good. First thing we'll do is this. God dang, I got gas. First thing we shall do is get this spring disengaged if we can. There it goes. There's these little, I'll show you. There's little seals that go around the shafts for the slides. This is different from all the rest of them. I don't know why. They're impossible to find. I end up making them if I need them out of Delrin. I have a drawing for them. I can make them and they snap in. We might be able, actually we can probably get the slides out. Once we lift them up, because they articulate and we can pull them over that. So let's do that first. Nope. Wasn't sure. Couldn't remember. I just don't remember. Thought I could. Yeah, forget it. That ain't going nowhere. That's pretty chewed up. Probably why they painted it. Try that. Whoa. Oh no. That one's not gonna go. I just completely gnarled it up too, and I've got a JIS bit in, so hate these damn things when they're those stupid screw heads. Yeah, look how rusted that is. Look at this. Yep, should have taken one of those out first, and then I would have said, ooh, wait a minute. I can get another one, it's not a big deal. I can get those at hardware. 5. I probably have some. Getting it out's another matter. So what we're going to end up doing is we'll heat it first, and then tappy tap tap it, and maybe we can get a purchase enough to get it out. Do a little tappy tap tap on it first. Kind of restores a little of that chowdered up top of it too. Then we'll use the needle dick torch. No gas in these things. And a little penetrating oil down in that slot, and we'll see what happens. Don't have high hopes. But if anything's gonna get it out, this is. Nope. Might have to chisel it out. Tappy tap 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 tap. Haha! Got it! Yeah, you can just get these. Those are M5s and a countersunk head. I can get these at hardware. And no, I didn't forget about these guys. These are the ones that lock it to the cam, you know, for where the cables go. The actual actuator. There's that one. It's got freaking paint and shit on it, so of course it doesn't like to cooperate. Whoops. Keep smacking you guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, I got it this way now, and I just remembered and realized what was the problem is here. It goes so far and stops. But I got it far enough over to realize that there's keys in the shaft for the arms. Take apart some CB750 carbs. It'd be fun, they said. Yeah, there's only two. There's one in the end here and then one that's underneath this now. I finally got it out. It was absolutely seized in there. Forgot all about it, but it's still a fight. As soon as we can clear these two, we'll pull these two out, which is about to occur right there. All right, now we can get these guys out of the way. All right. And it's stuck in here mainly. These were not, these arms were not the things that were seized, because if they were, we'd be putting lateral forces on this, which is not designed for it, and bend these. Now it's not that they can't be bent back, but I was keeping track to that. You see how this moves fine. It's these guys here where this thing's mounted through is the problem. And this isn't even that tight. You know, this one here, you know, this actuator cam for the cables is not that bad. And, you know, it's just, everything's just so seized. I'm sure these carbs have never been split based upon what I'm looking at right now. Once I get this out, I'll put it in a lathe and I'll file and use emery and so forth and clean this thing up so it just goes right back in. Let's see what we can do here to mitigate that. What's happening is this is coming across with the shaft, pushing against these arms here and pushing laterally against these actuator rods for the slide, rod slides, if you will, rod Stewart. Okay, promising. Oh. Those are M6s, I believe. Now, just stuck. Not here, those are good. Trying not to mushroom this over. These are tapered ends anyway, but you know, you can only do so much with this thing. And you gotta beat it. There it goes. And heat it and beat it. There it goes. One. Okay. Finally. This is the problem. It's all corroded and gnarled up. There's tight tolerances on this, so it's not sloppy. And it is a carburetor after all, or a carburetor rack. Finally. But I didn't beat on it heavily, you know. I didn't go like get the bigger hammer. That's why I used a tack hammer. Hassan chop! Hassan chop! You know, if I put my finger in there. Oh, no, I cut my finger off. Just kidding. You see what I mean? That one's missing something. You see that one? What the hell? Maybe laying here on the bench from all this banging. Unless it's laying here somewhere, it got jostled, but I seriously doubt that. Yeah, seriously doubt it. Now that I've seen that at number 4, I'm not doing nothing else until I look down number 4 cylinder with a borescope here. Well, because of the angle of that cylinder, I can only see about 2/3 of it, but even with the side camera, I don't see anything, so I think we're okay. Oh, no drama on that one. No drama at all. Nice. Fantastic. Get out of here. There's that over, well, actually it's as far as you can turn the throttle. That's the adjustment of it. A wide open throttle stop, best way to put it. I gotta unseize that too at some point. Where'd that come from? Oh, we'll have to look at the parts fiche on that. Parts breakdown. I don't know what that is. Just label them with a paint stick for now. I mean, it's kind of hard to screw these up. Number 1 has got the lever. Number 4 has got that piece missing. So that just leaves you 2 and 3, and you can't put it on that way because it wouldn't connect to anything. So, but I like to tag them anyway, just, you know, for my own purposes. And we'll take a look at one of these T's right now between 1 and 2. Yeah, this, it doesn't look terrible, but you can tell how loose it is. So if anybody has rebuilt them, it's been a long time ago. A long time ago. I can still remember when I knew how to do this shit. 4 basically individual carbs. Now this is even worse. Wow, the one between 3 and 4 is really bad. That's real loose. So yeah, this definitely is not a tutorial because I couldn't remember a lot of this stuff until I got into it. But you get the idea. Okay, I'm in the midst of cleaning carbs. This is a number of days later. And this is number 1. I started with 1 and 2 in the ultrasonic. Now I saw this. This is just some JB Weld stuff on the bottom of number 1 carbs. Standoff here for the main jet and the jet holder, which is also holds that needle jet down the bottom there, which by the way, I mentioned before, don't want to let them fall out, but these are either pressed in or seized, so there ain't no chance of that happening. But this particular one with this crud around here, which is like JB Weld or something, raised some concern. So after I got it out of the ultrasonic, I just started picking at it with a screwdriver. I suspected there was a crack at the bottom. You see how this just peels right off? That has nothing to do with the ultrasonic. This stuff never holds in this application. Now if I rotate it around here, zoom me up a little bit, we absolutely have a crack right there. So there's your problem, lady. Now I can't leave that and just put some JB Weld back on it, because when you put the jet holder back in, or emulsion tube, that particular brass piece that's threaded in, it's going to spread that apart and crack it even more, depending on where the threads land in there. The reason why it's cracked like that, I think, it's kind of impossible to see. is because on the inside here, it looks all corroded. And it got really thin on those threads. There's plenty of threads in here. I tried tightening it up once and it tightens up good. But it doesn't mean it's going to stay tight or stay good. And so we're going to have to fix this. And yeah, there's definitely a kind of a, I want to call it like a detent right there. I ain't going to put no more JB Weld or no crap like that on it. This stuff never lasts. When it's immersed in gasolina, there's no way that this stuff's going to last. So, you know, if you're ever running into this situation, don't even try. Replace the car body, send it to me, I'll fix it like we're about to do. And there's just enough room between where the pilot jet comes up here and the side of this body here to do what I want to do. I'll show you that here in a minute though. I'm going to keep you in suspense. Let me give you another good shot of that crack. Zoom way up on it. There you go. Now you can see it. Right there. Okay, let me get some stuff set up and I shall return. Okay, as you can see here, we got a chuck and a chuck. Or two chucks. Or a chuck wagon. What we're going to do is we are going to chuck on the inside of this bore. I'm going to put some aluminum in there, like a thin pop can thing, so it protects from the jaws, which unfortunately are not going to have a lot of contact in here, but we're going to have to take some really small cuts. I wish I could center this. You know, it's going to be something like this. I wish I could center it, but I don't believe, well, it isn't. You can see the casting is not on center at all with the center of the hole here. I get my pointer again, and right in here, get off of there. Right in here, you see the threads. It's thin here and thick there. And we need to essentially be concentric on the outside, not the inside part. So unfortunately, that's going to give us a problem. There are some other challenges with this, but they are not insurmountable. And we're going to turn that. We're going to turn that down a little bit till it cleans up. As long as it cleans up mostly around where the crack is, that's the best option. We try to clean the whole thing up. And then once we do that, we're going to make a little sleeve, a very thin sleeve. I'm not sure what I'm going to make it out of yet. I might make it out of bronze, to be honest with you. A little piece of bronze instead of aluminum. But then again, I might use aluminum as well, but I think bronze would be better. It's going to have to be very thin. Where this pilot jet sticks up, there's just a little bit of clearance between the jet and the sleeve we're going to make. Now, that's again another thing that's not insurmountable. We can just file a flat on that sleeve, whatever we put over there, just enough to make sure the jet clears. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about support. Because we're not going to be grabbing on a whole lot here. And I just don't see any other way we can do this. Unfortunately, it's just, these jaws are just not that deep. We can make them more deep. I've already turned these once. See how she does. Well, the interrupted cut is just raising hell with that. I thought that these, well, it's cutting pretty good. Raising hell with that insert, that's for sure. The insert just said, bye-bye. I don't remember how I cut that one. I need more purchase on this chuck to do this. I'm not going to just put that in there with that little bit. What the hell is that? 1/8 of an inch, a little bit more as far as the depth goes. Yeah, 3/16 barely, so plan B. Okay, that's a wee bit better. So, you know, I just, well, I realized two things. First of all, I needed to have a different angle of attack, give it a little bit broader tool pressure. It did chew up 2 tips, but it's better than chewing up 4. And I tried some high-speed steel, but it wasn't having it. But the main problem was that I forgot that the compound over here was unlocked, so it was moving. You got to have a real rigid setup for carbide on any interrupted cut, even though they hate them anyway. Carbide hates interrupted cuts, but we were able to do it. And I'm not worried about the back here because we're not going to push it all the way up anyway. We won't have to. What we're just going to do is, now that we have quite a bit of area here, once I bring these to the right diameter, back you up a little bit, we will be shitting in high cotton, I think, to be able to do this. This is the part that makes me the most nervous about doing this. Break one of those off, this thing is done. I hope I haven't jinxed myself. So let me get it set up and we'll dial it in and then try this. We're going to cheat a little bit and only do about 3/4 of this, so I don't have to stick an indicator in to clear the standoffs. This will be close enough for what we got to do. Okay, since we are running on an OD with a ID boring bar, we're going to be running in reverse and working on the back side of the workpiece. And this is where the pucker factor comes in, because if I have a senior moment and go out too far, you see we don't have much clearance there, but we got enough. Now, as far as how deep I'm going to go with this, you know, into the carburetor body, I'm not quite sure yet. We're going to try it on a slow RPM and then see just how it is. I'm going to turn DRO on so we can use that in case we want to. Well, I'm going to run her at 360. Let me back the tool out all the way and see how it goes. It spins. Looks pretty good. Again, pucker factor here, you know. Because this is a rough casting, I'm kind of probing it a little bit, going up and down. But I don't want to hit a high spot and then just jettison this thing from this chuck. I think we're touching. Set the DRO on 0. Kind of skim it. And now we're taking a chip, making a chip now. I gotta change the direction of this thing and a little too fast. Yeah, there's our crack right there. We gotta clean this up pretty good, but we can't take too much. That's the thing. I figured that we're gonna break through in that when we start cutting this because of that corrosion inside there, but really don't have a choice. We gotta kind of pull this thing from the outside with some sort of a, you know, some sort of a sleeve on it. It's the only really good way to fix this. 10 thou. Okay, take another 10. There's our crack again right there. We're cleaning up almost all the way around though, which is beautiful. Considering I'm on 20 thou right now. Pretty damn good. We'll do another 10. That's not bad. Getting awfully thin in here though, so pretty sure that's where we're going to stop, because whatever sleeve we put on, we'll put it as a, I'm going to run maybe maybe a thou just to clean up because I drug the tool across like an idiot. We'll clean that up, and when I put a sleeve on it, I'll make it just a slight interference fit, just a little press, and use Loctite 638. That will hold up in fuel conditions. And of course with that sleeve on there, if it's got some sort of a crush, all the better. So let me just take like 1.2, 1.4 thou. There we go. Not bad. You know, because the hole's not centered, the material's a little thin over here, but not bad at all. And I'll make the sleeve the distance of this cut that we just made. There's the inside that we just chucked on. Looks pretty good because we had something in there. Speaking of cracks, let's go ahead and take a look at this crack up close and personal. Now that we've machined it, you can really see it closely. So it goes around about a third of the circumference. I'm just joking with you. Yeah, so it goes around about a third. So actually more than that, it's starting to migrate over here too. So it's almost half. Yeah, this will be a good solution for this, because not only will it seal it up, but it's going to beef it up too. It'll make it stronger. The chances of the thread, I don't know if the thread spans that crack, but if it doesn't, the chance of that thread spreading this apart and cracking it further are going to be really, really minimized by having a sleeve on the outside of it. I think it's really the only way to do it. Okay, here's our material. Brass. This is a, I think one of those spring center punches, the body of it. It must have broke or something. Now there is some threads in it, but only on the end. So if we cut down inside there, this is actually pretty close to the OD and the ID we need. This diameter right here that we just cut is 410, 0.410. We're going to make it 475 on the OD, and I have a reamer that's 405, and we can do some shenanigans with that to actually make it cut a little bit bigger. Try to get it to about 408, 409, and then just push it on, like I said, with some Loctite 638. So this looks pretty good. And yes, I do have my chuck key in the chuck, and the power is on, and that's a bad thing to do, but I did it so, you know, somebody would have something to bitch about. What is this diameter where it's smooth? 470. Jeez, that's like right on the money. So what we have to do is, I'm going to part off the end with the threads. Yeah, this side is more open than the other. We'll part it off just past this, and we'll cut this back to where it's, you know, smooth. Be about 470 on the OD. Who cares if it's 470, 475, 220, 221, whatever works. And that's going to work really well. Oh, I can't go that tight. I'll distort it. There we go. Yeah, bronze would be fine, but this is even better because it's already a tube. Tubular, dude. Contact. Yeah, it looks good. No, wait a minute. I don't want to part that off now, dummy. We got to turn that. I just restocked on inserts. Good damn thing I did. I was getting low. It's feeling mighty low. Yeah, I think we will get rid of that piece and use it downstream a little bit more, because that's going to be too small for what I would be comfortable with. Oh, I see what it was. Some sort of a, I'm glad we did that. Some sort of a threaded on collar deal there. Oh, I didn't realize that. I realize that now, but I didn't then. So I'm glad we did that. Otherwise we would have been crying in our cornflakes. That's better. And we should really be at dimension on this, but it is true now. That was 470. 470. Leave it. Okay. Let me see what the ID is. Let's see. 330. And what did I say we were going to? 410? Yeah. We got to go to 410. So we're going to have a 60 thou wall or 30 on the side. That's fine. That would be perfectly fine for this. So what am I doing? So let's, I guess we'll drill it out closer. It's the letter X drill bit. It's, I don't know. I forgot now. I've had an interruption. It's less than, it's a smaller diameter than the reamer we're going to use. That's all you need to know. Now this reamer this reamer is a 405. The next step up is 412 or 411 some. So we're going to run this one in first. That's it. Sometimes these cut big anyway because they're chuck reamers as opposed to a chuck wagon, and so they sometimes cut big. This one didn't. So I cut a little small. Maybe it's 404, 403 and a half, 404. Well, that's too small. Put a tiny boring bar in. I used this the other day to open up those. I had to cut down some Evo Evolution engine push rods to be used in a custom application for my neighbor down the road. And they have an adjustable end, that has a thread. And this is a custom engine with some big bore build bullshit or something. And so what he needed was that cut down to the same length as the stock ones, less 3/8 of an inch. And then press the hardened tip back in the end that is opposite where the thread is. That's, the adjustable end has got a hardened tit on the end of it too. And so I had to bore those out slightly, and that's why I have this set up. So it's kind of convenient. Touching. See how that's, whoops. Feed's going the wrong way. Too fast. Try that. That's better. Take out like 2. Okay. Jeez, come on, man. Sorry, I keep jostling you back, but I gotta clear the tool so I can measure this. I gotta stop playing with my tool and do the work. 9, perfect. 409. She's real fine. Oh yeah, she just wants to start. And that's going to be real good. Because this one is 410. That one measures at 409. And 410. Okay, I put a Pretty good sized chamfer on the top of it, and one on the inside where it goes down, just so it'll blend into that turned area, I think, pretty well. It's another pucker factor here, because if I screwed up my numbers, I don't want to blow this thing apart. I think it's going to work okay though. There we go. Let me clean all that up before it gets down to threads, but there you go. Here's the finished product. It was a little proud of the original aluminum in there, the standoff, so I just filed it down by hand, cleaned her up. The jet holder goes in no problem, emulsion tube, whatever you want to call it. There's your clearance between your slow jet and that piece we just put in. That's a good repair. Now, to be honest with you, all 4 carbs really could use this. They are chowdered up big time, and I probably will do it only on one other because there's a crack forming at the very top on one of the other carbs. I forgot what number it was. This is number 1, as I said earlier. But if I do it on one other carb, I think that'll be sufficient. The threads inside all of them are marginal. This one's a lot better now because we've actually kind of brought them in a little bit by pressing that down. And the crack is not going to be an issue at all. It's beefed up strength-wise, and that 638 is going to seal that off. So that's a really good repair. This is the way you do this, in my opinion. And then you have a viable carb body. So, all right, let's move on because we spent enough time on a side project here. And then we'll get back to putting them back together after I get them all cleaned and do any other repairs. All right, folks, here we are. We're basically in a functional form as far as these carburetors go, finally. Now, the last clips you saw me do a fairly extensive operation as far as putting a sleeve that, like you can see right here, over these standoffs that were either chowdered up or cracked or both. I think I said in those clips that I was only going to do that one carb. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was number 1 over here. I ended up doing 3 of the 4 carbs. Number 2 is the only one that did not need it. This one's actually in pretty good shape, so I left it alone. But I did 1, 3, and 4. And this is number 4, of course. Now, on number 1, I did that with that piece of brass that you saw me make it out of. And I didn't have enough material to do 2 more. So what I ended up doing was I found a couple of KZ1000 valve guides. You know, those Kibblewhite brand valve guides, which are like silicon bronze or something like that. They're really nice material to work with. And that's what I made it out of for number 3 and number 4. And that's one of them you can see right here, I believe. If I'm not screwing up my carb numbering, I don't remember which one I did first. I think it was number 1. So that brings us to the second machining operation that I had to do, because this is the first. Now the second one has to do with the carb bodies rather, where the float seat goes into. Let me see if I can get you a better shot of that right here. Now right now, you see that I have a seat with one of these composite kind of fibrous washer, sealing washers. These are the ones that came out of it, because they're fairly new. Somebody's been through this before. The ones I got in the kit were a different seat, which are 2.0 millimeters. That's the hole in the bottom of it where the fuel comes through, which is what the service manual says it's supposed to have. These are 2.5s. Well, I tried those 2.0s with the aftermarket needles that I got from the kit I bought in here with these floats. These are the new floats that came with. I figured, why not use them? It saved me cleaning of the old ones. And I said, okay, I had it set up similar to this, and I pressure tested it, and the son of a gun miserably failed a pressure test. I mean, it wouldn't hold any pressure whatsoever. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure out, obviously, where the leak is. So I tested here first, because these are kind of chowdered up, too, inside these areas of these bores where the T's go. And nope, I didn't have any leakage here when I kept pumping the cuff on my pressure tester. Then I sprayed some soapy water on the base here, where this particular seat goes into the body, and that's where it was leaking. It was leaking profusely on all 4 carburetors at this location. So I said, okay, let me switch out to these old seals and try that. So I took the aftermarket seats, not these, but the ones I got in the kit, but with these sealing washers, tried it again, same thing. And I go, there's got to be a problem here. So when I took the seats out and I examined the aluminum where they go into that surface, 3 of the 4 carbs majorly chowdered up. And I go, they're all pitted and everything. Just all sorts of corrosion in these carbs. And I said, that's the problem. So machining operation number 2 was split these back apart, put the vise back on the milling machine, and set them up where I could use a 10 mil solid carbide end mill and just kind of carefully go in between these standoffs here. And then surface mill that, if you will. Mill the face. Just conventionally mill it as far as the surface goes. About 6 to 8 thousandths. I think 8 was the max I had to take on one of these. I don't remember which. And that gave me a nice flat surface. Some of them were so chowdered up that it was a very thin, nice surface, but it was a surface on one of them. I can't remember which. And then I said, you know what? I don't really like those 2.0 seats. I took the 2.5s that came with the carbs because they're in perfect shape with these kind of washers, these red washers that are kind of fibrous. Put those in with the needles that came with the original carburetors, the ones that came out of the carburetors rather. And here's one of those needles. There's steel type, you know, the solid metal type, I should say. I don't know if they're actually steel. And, you know, these are typical of the ones you see on these early CB750s, Z1s, 900, and so forth. Set up for another pressure test, and it was okay. I did get some decay on the pressure, but it wasn't, you know, extraordinary. So I said, you know, that'll probably hold fluid because I'm testing with air, so we'll just go ahead and we'll you know, put it together and try it that way. So I did. I put it together, flipped it up, right side up, and put it into a pan, put some fuel to one side, and then let it fill up, and all of a sudden it starts overflowing, and it is actually coming out the gasket on the back side here, between the float bowl and the gasket. And I'm like, what in the hell's going on with that? That should not occur because these things are really pretty tight with the baskets and new gaskets. So I took a closer look and realized that there needed to be a machining operation number 3. And that was, ultimately there was some interference issues between these sleeves and the float bowls. Let me spin it around the right way, dummy. So I went ahead and put the float bowls in the milling machine, and I made a cut with an extended reach 8mm solid carbide end mill, and went down here and cut about 30 thousandths away. You can kind of see that relief right there. I set them out down. I just kind of eyed this part of it in. So that's probably about, you know, 8 mils down or so. And 30 thou was perfect. What it was doing was it was interfering right here. It was hitting the bronze or brass bushing, depending on which one you look at. Right at that location, you can actually see a witness mark before I cut it. And I said, well, there's your problem. I'm certainly not going to do anything with this because it's too thin. But if I do it nicely with an end mill on these, that'll come out really well, and it sure did. And it gives me just enough clearance where these things go in. And you can see we got a little side-to-side play, which is the way you should have it. It would not do this before. It didn't want to sit down all the way. Actually on the back side for some reason. Well, this is the back side. What am I saying? So it was leaking somewhere, and that cleared that up. Now, I did not do all 4 carburetor float bowls because number 2 here didn't require any sleeving, so I left this one virgin. Now, if somebody's working on this thing in the future and they swap these two, you're not going to swap it over here because these drains face the opposite direction unless you're really clueless, like me. But they'll figure it out. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to cut something I don't need to. But with this clearance, no problem. But I also made another change. I said, you know, I really don't like the angle in which that these tangs sit down onto the float needles themselves. They are angled down even with the appropriate, well, especially with the appropriate float height. Now, I'll talk about that here in a second because there is some confusion on that and I'm not even sure. So I took some different float needles. In this case, I went into my stash and I grabbed some of these 1889-55s, which are typical for, technically, according, if you can find these, I don't think you can get them anymore, for a Valkyrie. That's why I have typically used in Valkyrie on them, 1889-55s. They don't work in Valkyries. I know that for a fact. That's why I always tell people you're just going to have to eat the OEM ones. They just don't. I don't know if it's a taper difference on the rubber tip or what, but they just don't work in that situation. But I figured they might work in these. And boy, did they work. They're absolutely beautiful. I put these in. Now remember, these are the original 2.5 millimeter seats. I have that location cut on the bodies, you know, so it seals off good. No leakage there. And with those 8955s. And I have zero, absolutely zero decay on pressure testing, which is the way I'd really like to see it. So I said, that's great. Now, as far as float height goes, you really need to do a service fuel level on these, but I can't find my little adapter for that. That goes off, you have to do it on here. You can't do it on here. This is strictly an overflow. And you have to take this out and then put something in with a hose and run it up the side of the car. I had one, I just can't find it. So I said, well, how else am I going to do this? Well, I did a static fuel test after I did all this. And once I did the static fuel test, took these off when they're flipped over in the right position because they are the basket type. You know, carefully reach in there and pop the basket and then just drop this down and look at the fuel level. And the fuel level is about right there. So I was real happy with that. Maybe a little lower, maybe about 6 mil down below the edge here. I said, that's perfectly fine. Because that's going to be up about here and the jets are well immersed in that. So I'm good with that. But as far as float level goes, now according to the service manual, it's supposed to be 26 millimeters, and they show in the service manual them using a special gauge, kind of like the ones I use on other ones that I happen to have. But I do not have one that's got 26 mil on it as far as the dimension goes. So I just have to use a scale. So where do you put the scale to measure from? Now typically you measure from with the gasket removed to base of the carb where the float bowl goes. I don't believe that's correct in these CB750s. The picture in the service manual shows a gauge that goes across and down, and I believe that's what this cutout section is for, is a surface in which to measure from. Because if I measure from this metal underneath this gasket directly up 26 mil, especially with these guys in, I had to really bend those tangs down, and they were angled substantially downwards. You really don't want the tangs angled substantially downwards because what happens is, so pretend the screwdriver is the tang, and of course you got your float needle sitting like this, and the tang is like this. That's the way you want it. You want it perpendicular to this thing. Because if it's in an angle, when it comes down to hit your float needle, it's going to want to cock it sideways and it potentially can bind up. You really want these as flat as possible. So nice flat pressure on these things to push them down. Well, with those 8955s, which are slightly longer than these guys, that absolutely occurred. I was able to get it where I have a direct perpendicular pressure down on those float needles, and I measured 26 mil from up here, and that gave me the fuel measurement I described before. So I think that's the way it's supposed to be done, but I just did some looking online. Some guys are saying, yeah, use this spot. Some guys are saying, no, use the base. But the best way would be to measure it kind of like I did. So I think we're fine with this. I know this is kind of a long clip, a long segment, but I wanted to explain what I had to go through to get these going. I mean, I really did consider the idea of just scrapping these carbs and trying to find another rack that's in better shape. But I'm pretty sure the owner, A, wants to keep it original, and B, where are you going to find a 1971 CB750 carb rack that's in better shape than this? They may exist out there, but they're going to be huge money if they exist at all. So my objective here was just to simply, you know, make sure we could get these working and keep them working, and I'm pretty sure they will. And oh, by the way, I am completely an idiot, and I know that. I said in those earlier clips when this piece fell out, I go, what the hell is that for? I can't remember what it's for. And about 2 seconds after I shut the camera off, I go, crap, I know what that's for. This goes into these two holes and holds the spring. This is where the spring attaches to the carbs, and then of course down here it attaches to the moving part of the linkage, or for the throttle itself to return it. Now this only works in this particular setup because we have two individual fuel tubes right here, fuel T's. And on other CB750s where you have, for example, number 1 carburetor over here, has a single fuel tap, I think, on the outside of it. And then a fuel rail that comes across. You'd have 1, 2, 3 joints. Well, they have a different setup on that. On this one, there are no joints in the middle, ergo those are blocked off, and they simply use those holes to put that piece in, and the spring goes to it. That's cool. Ding. And then that's what it was for. So I'm an idiot, I realize that, and but I figured it out. So let's get these things set up. We can put them back on the bike and see if the damn thing runs.